Hi, welcome to Monday Minutes. My name is Andrew.
And my name is Jessie. And how excited are we to have Andrew back at Bywater Solutions? Andrew!
Hello.
Andrew is with us today to talk about an exciting feature that will be in the 2405 release. So most of you should be on 2405 by now. And it's a enhancement, action logs. And this enhancement adds a diff column, which allows you to now track the differences when you're looking at something. So we have an example today that we're going to talk about in the holds realm of things. So you can see if maybe something changed priority or took a big jump, or someone changed a branch location. So Andrew, talk to us about what's important about this new enhancement.
Sure. So this is sort of the first step toward a larger change in action logs. This bug right here only makes this change for the holds log, but it lets us for every action recorded in the action logs, every time a hold gets changed, a reserve in the database, it records specifically what changed. So prior to 2405, if I went into holds and I was changing pickup locations, every time I changed a pickup location, the action log would show Andrew changed this hold, but no further information about what was changed. Um, and most of the action logs are like that. They just sort of show that something happened. So this bug lets us know specifically what happened, which opens up a lot of avenues. The borrower's action log already did this.
Mhm.
Now the hold log is catching up, and other parts of the action logs are I have bugs filed to add this feature there as well. But this is sort of our next step in moving toward some more usable data there.
All right, beautiful. So let's take a look at the action logs first. If we navigate to our tools module and then under additional tools, we'll come down to log viewer. This is where you'll be able to see all of the modules and the actions that you can run in the log viewer. So the best way I like to think about this is if you're troubleshooting something, this is where you're going to come to see like what happened, why did it happen, when did it happen. Now, ours were all turned on. So Andrew, if we go into our system preferences and we come over to logs, talk about where our users can turn on to make sure everything is being logged.
Yeah, so as you said, this is under system preferences. Logs are their own heading over on the left-hand side there. Um, Generally, I would say I tend to recommend that folks turn on everything here that is something they use. Um, and the only reason I would turn off some of them is like if your library is not using interlibrary loan in
Yeah.
Koha, as I look at all our different log options. But yeah, specifically the one we're looking for here is holds log.
Okay, so now that we're back over in the log viewer, Andrew, what do we see here?
Ooh, you turned off the interlibrary loan log. And so, yeah, I like that the log viewer gives you that handy indicator of like, hey, don't bother searching here. You won't find anything.
Wonderful. Okay, so for today's example, we're going to just focus on holds. So once we select that holds module, we're going to come down to the bottom and we're going to look at everything that happened today. So we'll select from November 1st to November 1st.
This is a place where, like, if you don't set some search parameters, it can take a long time to bring you back way more data than you wanted.
You
So it's
know,
it's good to not just like come here and look for all of your holds log ever. It'll show you that it'll just take a long time and not be very helpful once you get there.
Andrew, I always get object and info flipped back and forth. Tell us what an object and what an info is.
It's different from log to log.
Yeah.
Also get it confused. Usually the object is the thing that's being acted upon.
Okay.
Um, that's not real consistent. And so in this case, we're looking at the holds log. The object is the reserve ID from the reserves table. And if you're scratching your head right now wondering what the reserves ID is, that's because you as a human have never interacted with it in your whole life. It is like really some deep database stuff. Um, it's just sort of the way action logs are. My best advice is to, if you are curious, have a look at the reports wiki. There's a nice table there that breaks down for each action log what's in the object field, what's in the info field. Um, yeah, usually the object is going to be an item number or a borrower number or a reserve ID, something like that.
We'll make sure we link to that in the blog post. That way you have access if you want to look at those reports on the wiki. Okay, so now that we have this down here, we get our log entries, which break down the date, the librarian or staff member who performed it, the module, the action, and the object. And then we get a big blob of info.
And so info here is showing us what the database showed for this hold after the change. And so like we can kind of look at this and see the first line is a change to object 1017, and the line before it is a change to object 1017. And you can kind of compare those two to try to figure out what changed, but it's not any fun. Like it's just hard to read.
So taking this enhancement one step further, we've created a few reports. So we're going to come over here to one that Nick and Andrew collaborated on together and created one for holds action log changes. So we're going to come over here and run that. And Andrew, talk about what this is showing us now.
So this is showing us the hidden extra column of that holds log and then some extracted bits of data from it. That's the new column that got added to action logs, and it doesn't show to us over in the tools page, but for each line that we were seeing in the log viewer, there is a diff entry that is this that shows what got changed, and that's packed in there in a JSON format, so it's a lot of data in a machine readable format.
Yeah.
It takes a little parsing. So that first column is just the data as it exists in the database, and it's a whole bunch of curly brackets because that's how the JSON works. It's nested brackets showing all that information. Theoretically, we could like pull this off into a text editor and ask it to like format itself more nicely, but we don't really need to.
But we could
Oh
use
yeah.
that new feature that came
Yeah,
with
you could definitely use a template to like make it into a more printable version. That'd be
yeah,
totally
totally
cool.
cool.
So kind of parsing through that are sets of curly brackets, right? We've got the first curly bracket and then a capital D in that diff column. And that's saying, all right, I'm going to give you a diff, capital D for diff. And our diff is, and then we've got the second set of curly brackets. And within that, it tells us which field got changed, what the old value was, what the new value is. So the first field it tells us about is the timestamp. And it says there was an old value and a new value. That's not very exciting. I guess the old timestamp was the last time it got changed. New timestamp is now.
Yep.
We don't care about that so much. We really want to look at the change to priority, which is the other thing that changed here. Okay, so in the second column, I've said JSON extract. So JSON extract is the MySQL function I'm using here.
Mhm.
Within this JSON structured data, which you're going to find in the diff field, that's where I've said a.diff. Within that diff field, find me the first D. So that's the big capital D. I'm not doing a lot there. If you compare that second column to the first one, it's just sort of removed that first set of curly brackets. We're sort of moving a step further into the data. It gets more interesting and more useful in that third column where I said JSON extract from diff, give me capital D dot priority. So within that diff, give me the part that is a change to priority. So if you look back at the second column and sort of scan through what's in there, you can see there's a section that is priority, colon, yeah, there you go, priority, colon,
Yep.
new old. That's where it says priority was 1, now it is 0. So what I've done in the third column is say, give me just that bit. And then we can get even more particular and say, in the fourth column, give me just D.priority.o the old priority value. And then in the last column, d.priority.n, new priority value. So we could take this and write a report that says specifically, give me all of the holds log, all of the logged changes to holds in the past, I don't know, week, where
Mhm.
priority changed by more than one step or went up rather than down. Sort of things you don't expect to change. And further, as we played with this, like every time you capture a hold, everything's priority changes, but it doesn't get logged this way. So this is only manual changes to priority. Now I'm saying that there might be some exceptions. We'll probably want to play with that a little bit. But this is a report of times where priorities moving around. These are holds you maybe want to take a look at. If you've been having an issue with holds, not with patrons having suspicions about their hold priorities.
Truly, this would be great for a system administrator or an ILS administrator if they needed to go down and really troubleshoot if a staff member was changing priority for
Yeah.
holds. This would be the way to pinpoint what has truly happened.
Well, and we kind of glossed through it a little bit, but because this does connect back to the action logs, we are not showing it in this report, but this could be telling you the user who made that change as well. Like action logs do have that issue of being the part of Koha where you go to get somebody in trouble. And that never feels great, but sometimes you do need to know who's been
Right.
changing priority on holds.
Exactly. All right. Well, this was a very thorough explanation, Andrew, and we're so happy that you're back. Ah.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for welcoming me back.
See you next week.
Bye.